Hello everyone. I will be making some biryani for lunch today. It's Sunday and we'll have biryani for lunch, mutton biryani. This is my lazy woman's recipe which I have shared a million times over, and a lot of you have tried to follow my recipe and make it also. I just thought for those, there have been a few people who've been messaging me and telling me that they want details of it. Frankly, this is one of the easiest of biryani recipes ever. Uh, so I just thought that since the details are already mentioned in my post, but it somehow sort of perhaps doesn't cut it or cut it well enough, so I thought I'll make a video for all to see. So I'll quickly run you all through what all is required. First is we have this meat. This could be either goat or lamb. So I have 2 kilos of this, and as you can see the pieces are big. This is the biryani cut. This is from the shoulder and the ran. Okay, now we have 2 large and 1 medium onions which will go into the meat. Ginger garlic paste, salt, potatoes, this is eggs. The eggs I have already boiled. This is ghee, clarified butter, and these two, one is the biryani masala, which is the nutmeg, mace, shah jeera, and the white pepper and the kebab chini, and the other is my Bengali garam masala, which constitutes small green cardamoms, cinnamon and cloves. So these two make up the biryani masala. I already have it ready and the details are given in the recipe. My recipe which I have written, it's given, the details are given in that. Now this is the rice I will be using. Now this is something which I will be making for the first time with this rice. So I am a little apprehensive, a little scared also if you will, because this is the first time, so I don't know how it will turn out. Normally I use the India Gate or the Dawat blue packet. Now I couldn't find these two, so I'll just have to do with this, keep my fingers, toes, all digits crossed. And I'll be making this in this rice cooker. It's a regular rice cooker, nothing fancy, looks fancy, your everyday normal rice cooker. And the meat will be cooked in the pressure cooker. And of course, this here, this bottle, this has mustard oil. I'll be making this with mustard oil, a mix of mustard oil and clarified butter. And this is one wide, huge bowl, you can call it, or a kadhai, and I'll be doing my layering in this. Okay, now this is the easy recipe. This will not be going into any dum. So the idea is to cook the meat separately, cook the rice separately, the potatoes and eggs will obviously be cooked separately, and then you mix everything together. So there is no dum, there is no fear of, the rice getting extra boiled and turning into mush, nothing like that. And if you do not have a rice cooker, then you can make it in a normal patila, a dekchi, or whatever, where, you just adjust the water, whereby you are left with no water once the rice is cooked. Basically, we don't want to drain any water out. We need the water to stay, we need the starch to remain in the rice. We are not draining the water out. So that's about it. The ghee is of course very fragrant. It's Nandini ghee which we get here in Bangalore. And oh, I forgot to mention, this is Keora essence, and this is the saffron yellow food color. So that's about it. That's optional, the food color is optional. I could not get good quality saffron, so I will just be using the food color a bit, maybe. I'm still not decided. So that's it, and I'll come back once I do the next step. Okay, so now I have made a paste of the onions here, and I will be now pressure cooking the meat. Now one thing I want to mention here, the proportion of meat and rice here is 2:1. So if I have taken 2 kilos of meat and the rice is a kilo, I'll be taking the entire packet. And my suggestion would be, if you are making this for home, then do not go below 1.5 kilos of meat, please. Okay, so now I pressure cook the meat. I am not frying anything. I'm not frying the spices, nothing. So no oil or anything here. It's just the meat. Onions. That was 2 large and 1 small. Then I have the garlic paste. And the ginger paste. So this is about 2 tablespoons of garlic and 2 tablespoons of ginger. Done. And I will add salt according to taste. Also we'll be adding salt to the rice, so be a little careful with the salt. Okay, now I'm adding water to this, and I will need the meat to be dry, and I will have to dry up all the excess water once the meat is cooked through. So now add water accordingly. You don't want huge gravy. But the meat has to cook for 20 minutes. Like I've said in all my earlier videos where I've cooked with goat or lamb, that it takes 20 minutes after the first whistle on full flame for meat, for lamb and goat in India to cook properly. And I will not be putting this in dum or anything. This will be the ready meat which I'll just be mixing with the rice. So the meat has to cook very well. But I don't want a lot of gravy. So that's about it. That's all the water that I have added, no more. And this goes in for pressure cooking. Just the way I do it. Just the way I do it, I let the first whistle go off on full flame. Then I reduce the flame and let the meat cook for 20 minutes. I time my cooking because I do not understand the concept of whistles, and this is something which my mother had taught me. and it works beautifully for me. It's worked for all these years. Okay, so now my meat is on, the flame is full. Now my next step would be the potatoes. I'll come back and I'll show again. Okay, so now while my meat is getting cooked, I get my potatoes ready. I have peeled, washed, halved and pierced with a fork. These are all pierced, all these potatoes. Here I am heating up some mustard oil. You can make this with ghee also if you like. The oil is smoking, if you can see. I hope the video is able to catch it. So, and it has changed color, which means the oil is ready. I lower the flame and I'm moving it to a cooler platform. I'll just let it cool down for a couple of minutes because I do not want the potatoes to get color when I put them in. I do not want brown potatoes. I'm just giving it a minute for it to cool down. Just moving it away from the pressure cooker. So the oil cooled down for a couple of minutes. I have put it back on fire, on sim, and now I'm going to just add the potatoes in. And just toss this around so that the oil coats the potatoes. And you do not want to fry them, nor brown them, nothing. Just toss them around in the oil. And now I'll be adding some salt. Do not go overboard. The meat has salt. I'll be putting salt in the rice. So if it is less, one can always add more. Water, which is, I do not want the potatoes to submerge, just halfway there. And to this, I'll be adding some food color. This is the saffron yellow color. And again a mix. No turmeric, please. If you do not have food color, it's okay, no problem. You can add saffron. If you don't have that also, it's okay. But please, no turmeric. Or if you are making it with turmeric, please don't say I followed Rukma's recipe. That's a request, an earnest request. Now I'll be covering this up. Increase the flame. I want the water to come to a boil. Covered. Just want the water to come to a boil. Yeah. And then I'll reduce the flame to sim and I'll cook the potatoes till they are completely done. Not overcooked, but fork tender. Okay, so as I was just getting ready to cook the rice, I realized that the biryani masala I have will not suffice for this amount of rice. So I'm just making my biryani masala again, and I thought since I'm making it, I might as well show you all the way I do it. So here, this is white pepper, and here is kebab chini. This is shah jeera. This is mace, and this is nutmeg, and this is the proportion. I might not be using the entire thing for the biryani today because I have some leftover masala from earlier. This is the one here, and also I will be adding my Bengali garam masala, which is the green cardamoms, the cloves and the cinnamon. So since I have this ready, so I'm not adding those spices to this spice mix. Now I will be dry roasting this before I proceed. And the way I dry roast is I roast the harder things first here. That's the saffron color on my fingers. So I will do this first, then the kebab chini, then the shah jeera, and then these. Once they are roasted, dry roasted, I will grind them to a fine powder. Okay, so that's my freshly ground biryani masala. It's ready. Here. Smells amazing, obviously, because it's freshly ground. And here is my rice. I have taken my rice in a sieve, as you can see. And I will show you the way of washing it. Now this is not the regular biryani, not the dum biryani. I will not be parboiling the rice. I'll be cooking the rice till it's done. The main problem with this kind of biryani is, the only problem rather, is that there might be breakage of the long grains. So we have to try and do stuff which will minimize the breakage. So this is the first step. Also, before I show you, this one thing I want to make clear. Like for me, this is a new rice. I've never tried this before for biryani. So I don't know how it will shape up in the rice cooker. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping for the best. So if I were to have guests over, I would definitely not make this with this rice. So this is what I'm saying. When you are cooking for home, it's different. It doesn't matter what it looks like. If it looks like a pish pash or a mush, it's okay. Your family is very forgiving and they accept. But if you are cooking it for others, I suggest you cook with a rice which you're familiar with. So a rice which you've cooked earlier, a rice which you've cooked in the rice cooker or in the pressure cooker or in an open pan, like in a dekchi or a patila, where you're not straining the water. That is the main thing. Because rice can be adjusted, it doesn't matter, the quality doesn't matter so much, it can be adjusted if you are draining the water off. But in this case, we are not draining the water. So we have to be very, very careful. Okay, enough talk. Now I'll show you how I wash my rice. So, someone will help me. He will be holding it. So this is directly under the tap. I'm not putting it in a bowl. I'm not soaking it. Nothing. Okay, this is just over the sieve, and I will lightly just do this. I want the grains to be dust free. packaged and all that, they still have, or maybe it's my OCD, whatever. So that's it. I am not overwashing the rice, just a little, just 1 or 2 rinses, and we are done. And we are done. So now shaking the water off and putting it over this larger bowl so it can drain off. Okay, so here my potatoes are done. I've taken them out. The meat is also cooked, but as you can see, there is quite a bit of water which the meat released, plus I had added water since I was pressure cooking. So I will be drying up this water. I'll show you. And now for the rice. The rice has been here, so most of the water is out. And now I'll be frying the grains. Here I have a wide pan. This is an extra wide pan that I have. So this again is something that you should look at when frying the rice grains, because that will again help prevent breakage. So first I heated up some mustard oil. So mustard oil is perhaps the only oil in the world which adds more flavor to a dish. It does not turn any dish mustardy, quote unquote, but it just enhances the flavor of any dish. So I use mustard oil extensively for most of my cookings, except continental and South Indian fare. So here I had heated up mustard oil to a smoking hot point, and then I cooled it down, and then I added some ghee, clarified butter. And now it's all hot. Now I'll be just tempering this with bay leaves, green cardamom, cloves, and once they start to crackle and get fragrant, I will be adding the other spices. Sorry about that. That's my RO machine water filter. Okay, so this is, the oil is already fragrant. Now I will be, and it's all happening on sim, no high flame. Now I will be adding my freshly ground masala to this, my biryani masala. And now in goes the rice. So now very gently stir. very gentle. You can follow my hand movement because you don't want to break the rice grains. The most important thing about this biryani. Any biryani, but like I said, this is the only thing one needs to be careful of. And I need to fry the rice grains till they are fragrant. This is basmati. So if you fry them, like we all know, they turn extra fragrant. I could have done the frying in the rice cooker, but I did not because I don't want to overcrowd the pan. And I want the grains to remain separated. My flame is on high now because I do not want to cook the rice or anything. I just want it to quickly get fried. Release flavor. Yet another step to ensuring you don't have mushed up grains. Be careful not to over fry them because that again will lead to breakage. This is done. I know from the way the grains have started looking now. Plus I can actually hear that noise. I don't know if you all can hear, but that is the sound and you know it's done. Okay, so now my rice is fried and I've put it in my rice cooker and I have added water. So the water I have added is exactly double the amount of rice and half a glass extra. So this is my normal measure for my other biryani rices. This is a new one, like I'm repeatedly saying, so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and I'm hoping this works. The rice grains in this is also not very long, unlike my other the other ones that I use usually. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. So this is double plus half, and I added salt also after I added the water, and I just gently mixed it with a fork. And also like all people who use rice cookers know, once I put the rice and the water, I gently patted the level. I made the level of the rice uniform after adding the water. I'm not dipping my hands in again, I've already done it. So just ensure that the level is the same. Otherwise you might have one mound of rice here and then another depression there. So that will again affect the cooking. So now I close the lid and I turn on the machine. And I say a little prayer to the God I don't believe in. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so my rice cooker has stopped now. It's gone on to the keep warm function. So it stopped about 10 minutes back I did not open the lid, because what happens is the heat is so much that the rice is actually still being cooked. So if I open the lid and if I try to stir the rice, again it might break. So I just let it remain for 10 minutes. Now I'm opening the lid. This is how it looks. The grains from top look pretty decent. Let's see what's happening inside. But I'm not going to stir this now. I'm just going to be adding some keora essence and color. And then I'm just going to close this lid back again and let it be for another 10 minutes, and then I'll come and give it a stir. So the way I put my color is, I need some more keora, which I'll add again. Please go easy with keora always, because too much keora is something very terrible. And there's nothing you can do to fix it if you've added a lot of keora. You just have to go over and start recooking. If you don't want to do that, be very, very easy with your keora. You can always add later. This is just an essence, no problem. But do not go overboard with it. So this is done. I'm not doing anything to the rice. I'm closing the lid and it's on keep warm for another good 10 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed from the last time I opened and put the keora essence and the food color. So now I'm opening the lid. There. And now I have this extra large fork. It's pretty big, if you can see. It's quite big. So I'm just going to be very gently fluffing the rice. Just a very gentle fluff. Okay, one more thing I would like to mention is most rice cookers allow 10 cups of rice to be cooked. But when you're cooking any long grain rice, whether it's biryani or anything else for that matter, don't go beyond 5 or 6 cups max. So you can cook it in batches, but do not overload the container inside. As you can see, it's already come up till here. So there's very little space here. So if you want, again, the grains not to break, then just do this little thing. So we are done. Now comes the step of not really layering, just mixing it with the meat and the potatoes and the eggs. Okay, so now here is my setup for the layering. Basically, again, it's not layering, it's not going to be put in dum. It's just mixing up the meat, potatoes with the rice. So this is my extra large kadai, and this is the meat with all the water dried up. As you can see, potatoes I've already shown you, the eggs which had been boiled, and of course the rice. So first goes in the meat. Okay. Next, potatoes. Adina, ite kanda. Bhata. Okay, these bay leaves that were there, when you're layering, if you find these, please chuck them out. Okay, done. Now the next layer. I'm not sure if I can take photos of this because the family is starving. It's past 2 o'clock here and I started late actually. Beside the Mata. Maybe not as good as I would have liked the grains to be, but it's not very bad either, as you can see. and we are done. This is my lazy woman's biryani. No dum, no nothing. Just a few steps to follow so that the rice grains remain separated. Though this is not the rice which I usually make my biryani with, but still it's not very bad. What do you all say?